Welcome, everybody, to Citizens for Sound Money, our new show, which we are launching. This is an inaugural show of Sound Money Matters. And it's been a while. It's been about 8-9 months since we had our last episode with Rob King to the Dan and Rob show. We've decided to restart Sound Money Matters because sound money matters more now than ever. And we're going to be talking about, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We would have interviews with people who come. And as you see, we have a guest and you see his title and his background. We have a new director of operations. So we're going to do a brief interview with Benjamin Schafer, the director of operations at Citizens for Sound Money and the Sound Money Movement. And then we're also just going to be talking about sound money in general, what's going on in the news, the markets, what is happening legislatively. We're also going to be talking about things outside of sound money. For example, buying ammo as a form of currency. It's not money, it's currency. Opting out of like the food, with homesteading and prepping and all that. So we're just going to talk about a wide range of options, and that all ties into sound money. So let's get started. And as our tradition with that Jim Forsyth started is we always ask our guests why sound money matters.
I tell you what, it matters more now than it ever has, but it's always mattered. Anybody who wants to do anything in this world is going to have to find some way to coordinate their effort. They're going to have to find some way to participate in the world, right? In the economy, to build value. And money, if you really think about it this way, money is kind of gets a bad rap sometimes. People say the love of money is the root of all evil. But money is the way that we care for one another. Money is the way that we relate to each other. Money kind of defines the terms by which we can engage with the world, engage with society. And money becomes a tool that measures it, right? So why is sound money important? It matters because it's honest. Imagine, I always like to imagine it this way. It's a measuring tool. One of the primary functions of money is that it's a unit of account. And it's a measure of value. Can you imagine how hard it would be to make your family recipes, your grandma's cookies or something like that, if 1 cup of flour meant a different amount of flour depending on your generation? Well, that's exactly what's been happening with unsound money, with fiat money. Fiat money is changing all the time. So if you say, oh yeah, it's 1 cup of flour for this recipe, if you want to make this thing, but 1 cup is constantly fluctuating in how much it is, especially relative to other things, you're going to end up with really crappy cookies. And it's the same problem we have with our economy. If your money isn't sound money, it's always fluctuating in value relative to all kinds of other things. And then you have no way to really understand how to make that recipe for your economy or for your community. So yeah, I think that it's more important than ever. But it's, and I only say that because right now our fiat money is fluctuating more than ever. And so that's really what it comes down to is that sound money doesn't change. It's been the same for thousands of years. I assume it'll be the same for thousands more. It's stable. And anything unstable is unpredictable. So if you want to have a stable future, you got to have sound money.
Absolutely. And, as the director of operations here, Sound Money, I mean, our goal and mission is to promote the use of sound money and protect people's rights to do so. And then our mission for the C3 is to educate people of all generations on the necessity of sound money for a free economy and free society to exist. So that's another reason why sound money is important. To truly have a free economy, you have to have sound money. Or as we have a banner stand, a logo, a phrase that Jim Forsyth uses is sound markets require sound money, and also freedom requires sound money.
As an attorney, I kind of get a little bit intellectual about this. But what is freedom and what is the law? Well, how do all these things interact? Kind of a simple way that I like to explain this is that when it comes to sound money, it's a free market currency because sound money, gold and silver, their value, how much are they worth? people will say, well, how much is anything worth? It's all kind of arbitrary. Yes, but gold and silver's value is determined not by some top-down authority trying to control or tell people what to think or do. It's determined by actual trade. It's determined by the free market. And those free market forces allow that price discovery of how much the gold and silver is going to be worth to really inform free choices within that economy. So one of the ways that I like to explain this is if you go back to the political philosophy of law, of freedom, John Stuart Mill is one of the famous philosophers about this. And of course, Samuel Adams, famous philosopher about these free market concepts, is that he came up with these three things: life, liberty, and property. Okay, so that all of our freedoms have to do with life, liberty, and property. And, or as it's phrased in our Declaration of Independence in the United States, right, is that we believe that all men are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, what's the pursuit of happiness? It's the pursuit of property, or the ability to choose for yourself what you want to do in your life. And so the reason why these three things are linked, John Stuart Mill tells us, is because there's really only one thing called freedom, one thing called liberty. But there's three fundamental pillars upon which this concept of freedom rests. And that's your ability to have freedom for your body, your own, what you are. That's your life. And then it's also your liberty, whether or not you are free to go where you want to go, do what you want to do. And then it's also your property. It's also your pursuit of happiness, because if they can take away the things you own, then they can control what you're going to do with your body or where you're going to go. Most people, most of us, we trade our time for our money, right? So there's this phrase we say in America that time is money, and therefore your time is your liberty. Your time is your property. If they can take away any one of these things, they've taken away all three. They've taken away your freedom. So in other words, if you lock up my body, restricting my liberty by putting me in a cage, I don't have my freedom. Or if you kill me, I don't have my freedom. But also, if you take away my ability to have property, or to do what I will with my own, or to pursue what I want to pursue in life, or build what I want to build, if you can take that away, you've also taken away my life. You have also taken away my liberty. And so these three things are so intertwined. Well, here's the thing that's tricky. If you do not have a free market currency, if you do not have sound money, therefore you don't have a free market, you don't have your freedom, because that's what you're trading your time for. And the moment they can steal that from you, they have taken a portion of your life. They've taken your liberty, because you can't pursue happiness in the way that you wish.
100%. No, I agree with those tenets. I mean, I'm not a libertarian. I'm close. I'm a fusionist, which is libertarian economically. I understand the economic principles and philosophical principles. Well, the difference between a libertarian and a fusionist is when it comes to family values, traditional family values, I adhere to the more conservative side of things. So 100% life, liberty, and property, which, if we can go back to Aristotle believed that the purpose of life was to do things virtuously, which for the Greek, virtuous was doing things in excellence for happiness. To do things in virtue to seek happiness was what he determined was the purpose of life, which I think is what the founding fathers concluded, because owning property, being able to do what you want with your own property, can lead to happiness, which I think is what they did with John Locke and Aristotle, bringing them together, because our founding fathers were classically trained in education and so forth. So before we get into the content of today's show, let's give people some background about you. So go ahead and share where you came from, what you've done, why your title says attorney also, because you're also not just our director of operations, you're now our in-house general counsel. So go ahead and share with the audience your background.
Okay, well, I guess there's a couple different aspects there, right? There's the why sound money. Why did I get so excited about these systems, about and even about coins, coin collecting, stuff like that. And then there's also why did I pursue it the way I did? I I was studying the humanities in my undergraduate, right? I studied political philosophy, and I studied which and general classical philosophy a little bit too, and then history as well. I got my degree in history. And what do you do with that, right? You teach, probably. So I did that. I taught at a high school, and I also taught overseas at the international school in Taipei, Taiwan, which was fun. Um, but I realized that there were so many things philosophically I wanted to do to change the world. After I was a teacher for my first career, I decided, you know what? I need to make more money, for one thing. And I thought I better go to law school. So I applied to law school at the University of Arizona, that's in Tucson, Arizona, and got accepted there. Top tier law school. I was very proud of being able to get in there. But it was really, really interesting to see people from so many different perspectives. Law is, this is why people make lawyer jokes, right? Law is a somewhat corrupted and corruptible career. And so I saw people with all kinds of different motives. Even in law school, I had fellow students who were like, oh, yeah, I'm here to make money off the backs of, I don't care if I'm oppressing people kind of attitude. And I was just so furious. I'm like, oh, no, the reason why you pursue law is to pursue liberty, to pursue justice, to pursue what is right, And so I went to law school with this drive to do something to change the world and to make the world more materially just. I studied the Mondragon cooperatives. It's kind of an interesting business model that comes out of Spain, where I should say it's all Spain now, right? But the Catalan don't always call themselves Spanish. Anyway, it was the Mondragon cooperatives are this really interesting business model that I studied in law school, where they have employee-owned enterprise of various kinds and different kinds of ways of coordinating between different businesses. Thought it was really fascinating, but it made me realize how materially unjust so much of our economic systems are. So that was when I started stacking. I'd had a little coin collection from when I was a kid, but I started stacking gold and silver because I realized there's something wrong with our monetary system. And so I started learning a little bit more about that. One of the best places that I found, one of the videos I watched back in the day that helped a lot, it's getting kind of old now, is Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money. And so I saw that video series, and it was like, boom, I just understood it in a totally different way. I realized that fiat money was debt-based money, and that you could never, ever repay it. Of course, maybe this stood out to me at the time because of student loans, right? I did my undergrad. I worked my way through Pell Grants, did it slowly. I mean, I didn't graduate until I was in my early 20s, mid-20s before I got my history degree. And because it took so long to not incur debt to get my degree. But in law school, that wasn't an option. So I got into student loan debt, and I was like, man, how do they expect us to repay it? And I realized, oh my gosh, there is no way, even just my law school class, there's no way that everyone repays this. And then when I saw Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money, and I realized how the money was created to create those student loans, I realized, oh my gosh, it's impossible. It's literally numerically impossible for all the student loans to be paid off, because that's the way money works. Money is debt. You have to see.
Currency is debt.
Yeah, currency is debt. What the world has called money, well, the US dollar is just debt. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder it seems so unfair. It is unfair.
Yeah.
It's a hole that you can never dig yourself out of. And the system itself is the problem. And I was like, oh my gosh, I went to law school to learn these systems, to fix the system, to pursue justice. And here I am in a world that is literally designed. It's impossible to pay it off. It's impossible to fix it. It's designed to screw you, essentially. And not necessarily you in particular. And some people get ahead and some others fall behind. But there's no way for everyone to get ahead. There's no way for everyone to be free.
No,
someone's
right. It's designed. The current monetary system around the world is designed to, quote unquote, create a wealth transfer from the people to the government and to the banks and to the institutions that benefit from the Cantillon effect. The Cantillon effect. The Cantillon effect, for those who've never heard that before, is that those who are closest to the printing of the currency get the full purchasing power. And something that I knew, but it really was brought up when we were looking at some of the content that we were approving for. Because we're doing a major media push here soon at Citizens for Money, was that people who benefit from the Cantillon effect are the university systems because of the school student loan debt. They print new currency out of the federal government to Fed loans, print new currency, give it to the universities. Universities get the full purchasing power of the loan debt. Same thing with the banks. When they buy those bonds, they're the first ones to get in. As we spend, as universities spend, or the banks spend, that brand new currency, it dilutes into the economy. It takes months for the inflation to impact the people. But yeah, 100%. The whole system is created to dilute and debase the currency, which is code for stealing the wealth of the people.
Right.
So,
and if you'll forgive me.
And how did you get from law school to the sound money movement and eventually to us?
Right. So I in law school I started stacking some coins. Like I said, I was already interested in them. When I was a kid, the most fascinating thing to me was that I found a racketeer nickel at a little coin shop. Racketeer nickel was a fun little thing. Back in the 1880s, they made a nickel made out of nickel. So they assumed everyone would know it was worth a nickel, 5 cents. But what you're seeing on the screen there, right? Thanks for sharing that. It looks like gold. Well, what they did, and apparently this was somebody very close to the mint, somebody at a bank or something. We actually still don't know who. Somebody got the first batch of these brand new nickels and gold plated all of them. And then pushed them out through the banks, through all kinds of places as the new $5 gold piece. So instead of being worth 5 cents each, they passed them off as worth $5 each. It was one of the biggest scams that was run in that entire century. They made just unbelievable amounts of money doing this scam. And so you can still find a bunch of these nickels because they literally gold plated the entire mint run of these nickels. It's actually harder to find a racketeer nickel that's just nickel than it is to find one of the fake gold plated ones.
Oh, wow.
And so I had this racketeer nickel, and then so what did I learn from that as a kid? Right. I learned about fraud and counterfeiting. I learned about the real value of gold versus the value of other metals, because that was the whole point, was making this lie by gold plating it, saying it's gold. And so I was already interested in that. I started stacking just by initially just being like, oh, I need to just buy some silver coins or something, because I realized that sound money was going to hold its value, and that I couldn't save money in good conscience anymore by putting it in a savings account or putting it in a CD. I realized that would never keep up with this money printing machine that was designed through debt to keep some portion, and honestly, a large portion of the entire world in debt, in perpetual debt. I was like, well, how do I get out? Well, I got to stack. So I started stacking. And when I became an attorney, one of the first things I did was I actually told everybody that I would accept payment in gold and silver, and I'd give them 10% off their bill if they would pay in gold or silver. Here's the mistake I made. I'd already, I should have been smarter than this. I already knew that gold and silver held their value, but I foolishly made a chart that said, pay me this amount of gold instead of this amount of dollars. And then I left that chart up. And it wasn't 6 months before I realized that my chart was useless, because the value of the dollars had already declined enough. The gold, therefore, risen enough that it didn't even match up anymore. My price list was nonsense. And so I had to change the way I thought, to realize that I have to think in terms of gold and silver first. So I got a few clients that paid me in gold and silver, which was really fun. And that got me stacking. Then I ran into a really fun product at the county fair, believe it or not. I went to the county fair here in Utah County, Utah, and they had set up a table for the very, very first time to sell the very first printed gold backs. They'd only printed a 1 gold back and a 5 gold back at that time. And I walked up and I went, oh, but here's the problem that I've already, right? I was like, you can't actually exchange a 5 for 5 ones, right? Because they have different premiums or something. He said, no, we're trying to make this a local currency. It's going to be fungible. And my eyes went wide. And I said to the guy there, I said, oh my gosh, you fixed money. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, no, you fixed money. Even with just these 2 denominations, we can now run an economy that would actually work for people because it's fungible. And that's one of the basic functions of money. And he goes, wow, yeah, you know your stuff, man. That's really interesting. His name was Garrett. He worked for Alpine Gold Exchange, and he had this little table. And I was just like, that is the coolest thing. So what did I do? I traded in a bunch of dollars for some of these gold backs, and I just went nuts. And I started advertising it, getting the Chamber of Commerce to try to accept them here in Spanish Fork, Utah. And I put up the very first "We accept the gold back here" sign in my law firm.
That's awesome. And then you were hired, one of the first employees hired by Goldback, right?
One of the earliest employees hired directly by Goldback, became their general counsel for several years. And I created something called an authorized partner program. They still have it. They now have something called the Guild Network, which is even broader. Very cool program, where businesses and individuals can sign up businesses to accept the Goldback currency. And it's a great, of course, it's grown so much in the years since. There are thousands of businesses all across America where you can go in right now and you can spend those Goldbacks for goods and services. And and it's great. It's also, most of the people who understand Goldback will understand other currencies too. So if you have some silver coins, don't be afraid to visit any of the people on the network as well, right? They'll probably accept those too. I mean, no guarantee.
And then we put out an application for director of operations. I didn't think you were interested. I talked to you about it as we were getting applications, and all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, I'm actually going to apply." I thought you were joking at first, and I'm like,
"Well, maybe I was at first. I wasn't sure." So basically, I've been involved in this big project over the last year and a half, 2 years almost. Yeah, about 2 years. I've been involved in this project called the Finance Project, where we're going to be trying to do digitize on a blockchain, so that you can do all kinds of electronic transactions in legal tender gold coins. And I've been so involved in that, but I basically got it established. The lawyer's job is usually more in the setup and in the contracts. It's not necessarily in the day-to-day. So once I'd gotten that set up, finance.gold, once I'd gotten that kind of started rolling, I thought maybe I have a little more time. And you said you were looking for a director of operations, and I thought, man, I tell you what, it'd be really cool to work at Citizens for Sound Money, because this is the bleeding edge of the movement, the sound money movement, the revolution that we're starting in this country to try to use sound money, get the legislation in place, get businesses to use it. Citizens for Sound Money is like right there where the excitement is. And I thought, well, that sounds cool, but I'm not sure if I want to move to New Hampshire or Florida, or, you know what I mean? And then when you told me, no, you can look, we're going to travel, but you can live wherever you need to live and still do this job, I was like, oh, maybe. So I thought about it for the next couple of weeks. And then I said, you know what? I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I think I want to, because there's nowhere to go up from here, right? This is as high as you can get in the movement to make a difference, I think, is to be part of C4SM.
Yeah, and we, Citizens for Sound Money, the Sound Money movement, we are the only nonprofits in the country that actually lobby and advocate for sound money legislation. There is no other nonprofit out there that does that. There are for-profits out there that do it, but we're the only non-captive nonprofit. We represent the entire industry. We represent all gold and silver companies, bullion dealers, associations. And, I'm proud of that fact that we are out there as a nonprofit pushing to help people learn about sound money and protect people's rights to use sound money. So now that, people have a background about who you are, let's get into some meat. A lot of crazy things have been happening over the last month in the gold and silver markets. It's like, People, we joke around with crypto number go up. Well, gold and silver has been doing number go up, which is really dollar go down. And let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on in silver and gold today. We hit a new all-time high in both gold and silver. We hit a high of 51.27. We finally beat the all-time high in silver.
And which was 49.45, and we just blew past $50 silver.
Blew past it. Right. We're at $50.21. It's come down a little bit. And gold hit an all-time high of $40.58, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think that happened today. But the gold markets are nuts. And you know what's interesting is the critics of gold and silver have been changing their tune. And I think one of the biggest things is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett changes his signal for gold to his investors. In fact, Buffett is buying $1 billion worth of gold, when before he'd say don't buy gold because it doesn't produce a yield. Well, guess what? It doesn't produce a yield, but when the dollar is crashing and it's keeping up with inflation, I mean, it's better than a yield because you're protecting your economic energy. So, Warren Buffett is changing his tune. And what's his freaking name from, is it CNBC? Kramer or something? Kramer?
Bradley? Kramer?
No, Jim Kramer.
Jim Kramer.
He came out on a tweet yesterday saying that he's always been a gold bug for 40 years, and
that is like, oh, come on, man.
Oh no,
you were a skeptic for a long time, and you call that being a gold bug. It's not quite the same thing. Yeah, and of course they're changing their tune a little bit because like you said at the beginning, precious metals are not going up. This is one of the things that everybody needs to understand, and so it always bears repeating. Precious metals do not go up. Dollars go down, right? And so an ounce of gold is an ounce of gold. An ounce of silver is an ounce of silver. What's happening is that the dollar buys less of it. And so I understood the argument that Warren Buffett's been making for decades, is that no, you want to put your money someplace where it's pushing production of something new. And I want to put my money to use. That's a beautiful thing. But in an environment like we're having right now, where the dollar is just in decline, I mean, this inflation and the dollar printing, it's just catching up with us. The only way to protect your value is to put it in something that's just not evaporating. I mean, everything else is just kind of burning away right now.
100%. And I made the switch to gold and silver. I sold all my Bitcoin stocks, everything. And
even all your Bitcoin, which has also gone up, to be fair.
Gold has outperformed Bitcoin.
Yes, but which is crazy. This year has just been boom with the gold.
Yeah. And I made that decision last year in August when they first cut interest rates. I'm like, oh no, this is not good. And I was right. It was the right decision. I was waiting for them to cut interest rates before I sold my gold and Bitcoin. So this chart goes back to January. So year to date, silver has actually outperformed gold, but gold has outperformed everything as well. Outperformed NVIDIA, outperformed Bitcoin, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Apple, Amazon, and MicroStrategies.
Right. And the reason NVIDIA and Google and Microsoft are on there is because they've had a pretty good run compared to most stocks. I mean, NVIDIA is like the one of the best performing stocks in the entire market, and it's still outperformed that. Yeah.
And look, what the North Star Bad Charts is his partner, Patrick. They have this theory called the capital rotation event. So when, let me see, we get out of here and go to their main page. He has it here. This is an old post. So the capital rotation event means that when gold outperforms all these assets, the money supply, the dollar, DXY, CPI, PPI, currency in circulation versus gold, SPX, the New York Stock Exchange, Dow Jones, Wilshire, Russell, and then S&P 500, which is currently breaking down, and I forget what the NDX, NASDAQ versus gold. It's finally, once these two are checked, we're in full-blown capital rotation event. And this is what it says. These boxes turn red when the elements within them enter a bear market versus gold. This only happens during a capital rotation event. One by one, they turn red as the capital rotation continues, leading to the eventual event confirmation. This leads each time to gold rising hundreds of percent. Stock markets fall 50 to 80% over a 1 to 2 year period. Stock markets then take many more years to get back to their previous highs and make a new high. That marks the next rotation in favor of stock markets and risk assets, while stock markets slowly claw their way back to those previous highs. Gold and silver, commodities, energy, and oil massively outperform, rising hundreds and in some cases thousands of a percent. So I think this hasn't been updated. This post is old. This is he pinned it from last year in October 29th, so almost a year ago. I'm pretty sure we've checked them all.
We've checked them all now. And so basically, that's the fear that a lot of people are having right now with silver over $50 an ounce, with gold over $4,000 an ounce. Some people are kind of wondering, is this a bubble? Is this a lone event? Is it going to just peter out? And maybe if I put my money in gold over $4,000 an ounce, I'll lose my money because it'll go back down.
I literally had the conversation.
And that's why you've got these cups, right? The cups and handles. And so some people will say, well, what if it just dips again, just like that cup again? But here's the thing. The fundamentals are different, really different than at that first point to that cup. Right now, I mean, again, this is not official financial advice, and I'm not your attorney, okay? This is only my personal view. But I think those fundamentals are different enough right now that no, it's not too late. It's not too late to get in on the investment side. And even if it were, it is never too late to reclaim your freedom by just getting back to sound money and making your local economy function in a way that it just cannot function under fiat money.
100%. Look, in the fundamentals are different. Look at these cup and handles in these bull markets. The first bull run was when we got off the gold and silver standard, really the gold standard. It skyrocketed. And then it leveled off and it skyrocketed again. Gold does the same thing basically during the 70s and 80s with high inflation under Carter. Then it comes under control. Volcker starts clamping down, raising interest rates, which created a deflationary event, strengthened in the dollar. Interest rates were like in the 20s and 30s. So when that happens, it's pulling currency out of the circulation, strengthening the dollar. So we have this long handle, right? So what
long period of consolidation, right? It just kind of makes the market a little bit more stable. But here's an interesting thing too that I want to point out is one of the main ways they do that is by exporting our inflation into other countries. Like other countries will use our treasuries as the reserve against the currencies that they issue when their central banks buy up our treasuries. The problem is that that's changed too. So this consolidation was mostly about us exporting our inflation to other central banks throughout the world, which is just stopped. That is not happening anymore.
Yeah, in monetary history is human history. So look at this see this little pump right here. You know what happened here? The Soviet Union collapsed. So silver kind of pumped and went sideways for a while. We had the 2000 dot-com bubble. It didn't really affect the silver market. It did affect the gold market. And then boom, we start skyrocketing. All this new inflation, the housing crisis. It did a small time crash. Everything crashes during the global market meltdown, but it recovered just like gold first, and it hit this high. This is just the people freaking out and protecting themselves from the market crash. Then they dropped interest rates to zero, so it became cheaper to borrow and invest in things. So people rotated out. This is a capital rotation event, essentially. They rotated out of metals and then went back into the stock market. And now we had COVID, which happened here, skyrocketed because of the monetary supply just got dumped in with all the stimuluses and different things. People didn't know what was happening, so everybody freaked out and bought gold and silver. And then it's still going up. There's no real major crisis. We're out of COVID. And what this is the culmination of quantitative easing and then the stimulus packages that they printed every country in the world, and the fundamentals are different. There are no real solutions to bring down inflation. Because if they raise interest rates, it's going to create a deflationary event, and the stock market hates that, and the Fed wants to prevent that, so they're not going to raise interest rates. And when they lower interest rates, it creates easy capital, which is basically quantitative easing. There's no real clear solution for the Federal Reserve to get inflation under control. So, and that's why our organization exists. That's why we Our late founder, Jim Forsyth, got involved in the sound money movement because of Ron Paul. Ron Paul really shined a light on the problems with the Fed, really shined a light with fiat currency. And that is what got Jim involved in the sound money movement. He founded our organization during the silver squeeze, where I showed you right around COVID, with Wall Street bets and all that, with around the same time as what is that, the GameStop, and
right, because shorts, we should talk about the silver short, which might end up being just like the GameStop short.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, the shorts aren't working anymore. Like the banks are starting to lose their shirt because they can't keep gold and silver tamped down. So, that is what our mission is: to promote the use of sound money and protect people's rights to do so. And then the C3 sound money movement. So let me show. If you want to learn more about our organization, we just revamped our website. Not all the links work. We're working on it. We just got a new webmaster. We updated our logo. We're updating our website. So if you want to learn more about what is sound money, learn more about us and our partners, you go to Citizens for Sound Money. This is our late founder, Jim Forsyth. And these are some of our partners. We're going to be adding more of our partners in the sound money movement, the industry. And this is a cool add to our website. So the atomic number for silver is 47. So this organization created International Silver Day for April 7th. So check them out if you want to celebrate Silver Day. And if you want help with legislation, reach out to us. You can contact us at the bottom. Click contact us, fill out the form. We'll get your information. We'll get an email. If you want to learn more on how to educate people in your community about sound money, we have sound money seminars. Let me turn this off so we can get the video running. The sound money seminars. So we will actually come and teach business owners and individuals the problems with the economy, how to use gold and silver. And this is our 501c3. So if you want to learn more, if you want to get education, we're along with our marketing push, we are going to be providing free educational content on our YouTube channel, and we're going to have a learning module system, an LMS, on our Sound Money Movement website called the Sound Money Academy, where you can learn. And eventually, when you answer the questions, do the quizzes, there will be an idea that we've been throwing around as like getting an NFT or something. That's not quite there yet, but you will be getting a certificate of completion for each course that you complete, and you'll just be getting a full education on sound money, on the history of money, what is inflation, how and how you can actually use gold and silver in your day-to-day. So we're going to try to keep our episodes short, and because it's YouTube, people don't like watching 1-hour episodes. So we got a couple of minutes left. Ben, is there anything you would like to share with the audience?
I think the main thing is going to be that, like, I was so excited to become part of Citizens for Sound Money, because with the legislative work, with the 501c3 charity work of just doing the education, teaching people how to reclaim their freedom, reclaim their wealth, I thought to myself, I want to be a part of that. Well, the last thing I want to share then is everybody who's watching this gets to be a part of it. Maybe we can't hire everybody in the world, but what we can do is, if you can volunteer a little bit of time, if you can get one of those seminars set up, if you can donate to Citizens for Sound Money, if you can go to either soundmoneymovement.org or citizensforsoundmoney.org and donate, become a member, a sustaining member. We need memberships where people will do a recurring payment. You can pay monthly or yearly. It'd be wonderful to have even a small amount, $20 or 1 ounce of silver, perhaps, that you pay once a year or once a month to help support this legislative work. I believe that we can change the world, going to each state, changing the law, and making your community part of it, because you can be involved.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, visit our website, citizensoundmoney.org. We right now, because we transition, you can't join just yet, but hopefully by the time you watch this video, everything will be up to date. You can join our Pioneer membership. which is $25 a year. Or if you donate $100 or more a year, we're going to give you a free ounce of silver. So basically, right now with the price of silver, you're paying $50 versus $25. You get in a free ounce. We might need to adjust that because when we started that program, silver was around $20. But right now it's still in place. So if you want to donate $100 and get around $51 in Kinesis silver, donate that. The instructions will be emailed to you. Check out Sound Money Movement. This is completely tax write-off. We're a 501c3 Sound Money Movement. So if you want to support our mission of going out there and teaching individuals, legislators, business owners about how sound money, the history of money, and how to use gold and silver day to day, please go ahead and check out that website. Follow us on X. That's where we put out most of our news, our new media specialists. We're going to be doing a lot more than just X, but right now that's our main platform. And then follow us on YouTube, same as our handle on X, YouTube at For Sound Money. And I don't post that much on my individual anymore, but you can follow me on X, Mining Life CEO. I got to change my handle because I don't really do anything with my old crypto company anymore. That's my handle. Probably switch it to something else soon. But go ahead and follow me there. Send me a message if you want to get in contact with me. And follow Ben at Sound Money Ben on X. So I think that will wrap up our first episode. Thank you everybody for watching. Please share this, follow us, and we will catch you on the next episode of Sound Money Matters.